For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to just another episode of That's a Shame. It's just another. That's going to be a theme of today's one, I think. Fair?
If we even have a theme.
Yeah, I mean, who cares about things like a theme anymore? It's just another
It's just
episode.
Sunday.
It's just Sunday. Let's not get excited about anything. I'm Isaac. Who are you?
I'm Declan.
How's it going? Looking
Not
pretty
bad,
damp.
thanks. Yeah, well, I just had a shower.
Okay, no, that's
I
an
was
interesting
feeling it.
time for the shower at 9:30pm.
Yeah, well, I was feeling it, you know. Sometimes you just got to go for it.
You do, and it's that sense of just grabbing life by whatever tendrils the orange yeast creature offers that I think is going to permeate today's show.
Now, can you explain a little for our listeners? 'Cause you can't just say tendrils from the orange yeast creature.
Well, we just saw a thing on Reddit that's a horrid... someone left a glass bottle of some sort of natural orange juice for a year in a cabinet, and it's grown what looks, let's not beat around the bush, like a cock, right in the middle of the bottle.
I was going to say something more like tapeworm.
No, it's much too big for a tapeworm. Tapeworms are long, but they don't have the girth.
Right, okay.
Whereas that is just a
that-
column of flesh.
Yeah, but it was so incredibly slimy that I'm frankly worried
Sorry,
about
what do you mean?
Flat at the ends.
Yeah, it's really unpleasant. I won't be linking to it, and I wouldn't recommend that you go and look for it at all. Now, there's a nice segue here, though, because we were just talking about a bottle of orange yeast. And who's a bigger bottle of orange yeast than old Prezi Trumpst? And we went to see him, didn't we?
No.
I thought we were going to go and see him.
Is that what you thought it was?
It was a meet and
He was
greet.
going to be there.
I brought my Art of the Deal sketchbook, limited
to be
edition.
signed.
Yeah, I was going to get it all over.
Oh, no.
But that was disappointing for me, not to get the chance to meet him. But clearly he was too busy kind of standing around Blenheim Palace looking at a parade of very cool and up-to-date military activity.
Grasping onto the hands of Theresa May.
Really
at the
loves
very
holding her hand, doesn't
slightest inkling of a step.
He's really obsessed with like hand contact as a person. He's like who you would tell to keep their hands to themselves in like a school trip bus.
He's
'Cause
really
they're just
like,
always like going out there like feelers.
He reminds me a lot of Uncle Jack from Always Sunny.
Yes.
Constantly worried about the size of his tiny hands.
I don't know if it's even the size thing anymore. It's just, for me, his propensity to do odd things with them. Like,
But that's what I
he's
think
always
it is.
got
I
them,
think
like,
it's a
resting on weird
compensation.
thing. Just very conscious of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you'd think that would come from having a kind of meteor slab at the end of his arm sticks.
No, not the kind of feeble little
Interesting.
starfish that he's got
Yeah,
at the end of each arm.
Well, he tries his best, doesn't he? So we tripped along to London's Stop Trump Coalition organised protest.
Now, can I just check, was this Friday afternoon's anti-Trump protest or was it the Saturday afternoon? I'm sure equally as well attended
yeah, I think it was.
pro-Trump.
Yeah. Tommy Robinson,
and
like
Tommy
free
Robinson,
Tommy
free Tommy
Robinson,
Robinson
down
campaign.
with others. That was another of
Yeah.
the big things. No, we went along to the Friday. I think, the Saturday one, it was going to, if anything, be too busy. And I don't think it already kind of the standing room only vibe of our one that had, more people than went to Trump's own inauguration.
By quite a way.
That I can only imagine was maybe doubled, tripled. By,
I mean, I didn't see that it was.
well, it wasn't, but that's the thing, isn't it? The MSN have done another.
the liberal
they've pulled one over on
media.
us, and they're
bloody
underreporting it.
BBC.
And it's not just because there were like 20 racist white guys who driven
Shouting
up
at
from
us.
Dagenham. Yeah, but it's probably not that.
It's probably bigger.
It's probably that it was so big that it's like, well, where do you even start reporting?
I don't think
this?
Trafalgar Square is even there.
I guess
anymore.
not, because I haven't seen hide nor hair of it since.
No, I can't. Like, ordinarily, if we take a little look out, Nelson's column,
Nelson, you can have a little wave to him,
but seems to be on fire.
yeah, at the very best. And again, like from a media perspective, and if you think of like a cameraman's job of just documenting that event, because there were loads of them at the Stop Trump one, and obviously made international news, still being talked about,
Yeah.
and all that. But maybe the problem there was like, well, with this many people, like, where do you
There's too
where do
much
you
to
point
see.
the camera?
Yeah.
Because a camera can only take 25 racists
maybe
per
30 photos.
frame.
Yeah.
And it's it's quite a task to capture the magnitude of something like a pro-Trump rally in London.
So we'll be focusing on the Friday.
Yeah, but for balance, I'm sure the other one, they had a great time.
No, it was good. I didn't do the march because I was coming in late. But so what I decided to do was skip ahead.
Head off the march.
I did an anti-Trump tube journey.
Oh, okay. And how did you manifest that on the journey?
I had a can of Stella.
Oh, he hates
against the TfL zone rules. You
nice.
see. So it was a bit of public dissent.
The TfL rules.
He probably wants them to sue someone.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah. So got off at Charing Cross and came and met you in the Trafalgar Square back when it was there.
Good place, didn't I?
Yeah, you'd reached a good
little
spot.
Standing zone. Me and my pal.
Who was your pal?
I met some people in the queue, the rally, the march. The long walk.
Are you sure that you did? You weren't just making these.
Yeah, one of them was a nice little angel on my shoulder, and the other one dressed all in red. Had a lot of spooky ideas about things I should be doing with the day. No, I don't know what became of them, but you know the vibe of those sorts of marches. Everyone's talking to everyone. There's people just fucking in the streets. Someone doing coke off George Alagai's back. It was a party.
I missed all that. I only got there for the speeches.
Yeah, no, that was less for party.
But they were still pretty good.
Yeah,
there were lots of people.
Very many.
There were like dozens upon dozens.
There was an endless slew of people ready to speak. Sometimes in totally different languages.
There were so many different causes as well.
Yeah, all being melded. That's what's good about it.
It's interesting that they all hate Trump.
It's
almost like he's doing nothing right.
It's odd because like if you are Trump and you're looking around, you're like, right, so it's not just like the liberals who hate me. It's like, oh, hang on, there's all these people who are, like in favour of Palestinian rights. And then there's all these people who are in favour of like South American rights. So it's like, is there some pattern in it? But there's probably not.
No, it's not necessarily.
It's just a coincidence, is what probably is the case. Yeah. I guess that's what he's thinking at least.
Yeah.
For now, who was some of the speakers that stood out for you?
Well, obviously, it was nice to see our boy JC get up and do a speech.
Jeremy Corbyn.
He did one of those impassioned ones he's famed for.
I've seen him a bunch of times now doing those speeches in the middle of squares, and the first time I thought, you're a very timid man, Jeremy, but that was several years ago, and he's since really come into his own.
Oh,
yeah, he's a lot better at it than he used to be.
Oh, that's nice.
It is good. It's good to see him progressing, isn't it? It's nice to see that upward trajectory.
There was, of course, lest we forget, the incredible South American pairing.
God, they were great.
Do you want to explain?
Have you ever seen someone so small that if you were to blink for 1 second, you might have doubted their own existence? Well, here you go.
Small in terms of height.
Yeah, but large in terms of presence.
Yeah, I'm thinking like
vocal quality,
like Miriam Margolyes or something.
Yes, that's quite
South America.
Yeah, do you think that's who she's known as?
Is that her Twitter bio? Now, yeah.
That's really good to hear. I'm sure Miriam will be thrilled as well.
Oh, well, she's always looking.
She
for
did
new
that
people.
anti-Trump thing in the US, didn't she?
That was so weird.
Whose job is it to just sit around coming up with which celebrity should be sent out to do like which set of documentaries, because it seems to be increasingly random.
I hope it's a Wheel of Fortune kind of thing.
Yeah,
like they go,
like, okay,
and this one's going to be
Guy Fieri.
Oh, and he's going to Alaska.
The Israeli drugs trade. Wow. They don't seem to have any like prerequisite information.
Chris Tarrant going to do that show about the Palestinian-Israeli railways.
Very odd.
And then like standing there by one of the big apartheid walls being like,
just like when I was on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Just feel like a better train and this could all be over.
You know, we'll solve today a really fucking good train. Maybe maglev.
I always find it interesting that people, because you have to in order to justify the probably ridiculous amount of money being spent on making all of this nonsense, that you have to come up with some sort of at least pseudo profound like argument to conclude with. And it's always that whatever trivial, meaningless thing you were looking into is probably the key to world peace.
Yeah, so it's like those ones where they get like a gardening expert to go and look at the palace in Saudi Arabia.
Judi Dench on trees. She was like, oh, more trees.
And that would be
we'll
it.
end all this racism.
If there were more trees, like so many more trees that you just couldn't fit any people, then it would. So Judy's
that
on
is
something.
interesting.
But it's potentially quite a sensationalist approach to solving.
It's quite a genocidal.
It's a one shot and you're out.
Yeah.
Sort of thing, yeah. You don't come back from total treeage.
What if the last person left
Uh-huh.
happened to be a racist though, and then they went, "I'm not
no.
going to plant this last
And then
tree."
we've just built a racist giant forest.
We've like changed the ratio so that the human population is now 100% racist.
100% racist, one racist amongst a billion trees, just frolicking for all eternity. God, well, we can't be taking those sorts of risks, Judy.
No.
And as much as I
think it was irresponsible.
admire her,
And that's why I'll be writing in.
I think someone has to do it. So yeah, this South American lady came up and shouted with the vocal energy.
Well, she was with someone else.
Yeah, she was with someone else from her organisation who was like translating, but not for a really long time. Sometimes you get like the most impressive form of translation where someone's just standing aside, and you know that thing where Pennywise opens his mouth and his teeth come out and his face goes all dead.
Yeah.
And he sort of glazes over because he's just so busy eating children.
Yeah.
Some translators who are really concentrating
Eat children.
Well, when they're finished eating the children, they'll tell you about it in any language you want. But when they are zoning out to translate, it's like another part of their brain. So you often see, like, I don't know if you've ever seen the booth where they do live translation at like the European Union and stuff, but they just sort of listen. And then their face takes on this weird, like, dead quality, like they're plugging into a completely different apparatus. So sometimes they do that live translation where someone will be talking and that person will be alongside them kind of staring limply and then just muttering in English or whatever it happens to be translated to. Their approach was different, and it gave, I thought, a certain enigmatic quality, as well as really allowed you to hear the grandiosity of Spanish being spoken so fervently. I felt, I don't know about you, like I was in the middle of La Revolucion. It was like Che was going to be just around the corner.
The best part of it was that, you know, until the translation came each time, she could have been saying anything.
Yeah.
She could have been saying, "Death to the West, let's burn this, like, square down. You are all infidels.
Trump's
and,
my dad, my big orange dad.
Nazis are great people."
Yeah.
And we'd have screamed and
it just
clapped
had
along
such
because
gravitas.
she just had us, you know?
She knew how to work a crowd.
Thankfully, it did seem as though she wasn't saying those things.
It was really good. She was saying a lot of good stuff, wasn't she?
Yeah.
It was very well organised in terms of the diversity of speakers, not just in terms of like racial diversity, but the fact that there was like I think predominantly female speakers.
Yeah, mostly, I think.
Which is the first time I've been to like a rally where that's been the case.
You know, there's someone behind us saying the same.
Yeah, it was very, very well done. And I understand that Trump Baby will be doing the international round. So, of course, you will have seen Trump Baby in the press.
Floating about.
Yeah, we saw him.
that lion.
Fucking a lion. Now, that was an odd sight to see and not one that I thought I ever would be privileged enough
Not
to
one
witness.
that you knew you wanted to until you did. And then you were like, that was it.
He mounted that Nelson's lion that Nelson, I assume, brought into the Battle of Waterloo.
Probably.
So unfair, isn't it, that he had those massive stone iron lion guys in the Battle of Waterloo? Like, what's Napoleon supposed to do?
But the thing is, you wouldn't have thought they'd be useful on the sea.
And that's
when he was at Trafalgar.
His genius. That's why he's
But
known
then
as the great strategist, because he was the first person to look at like bronze lions and then look at the ocean and think there's a marriage here.
Here we go. There's something in the middle of this Venn diagram worth exploring.
Yeah, and explore it he did. And explore it we did. So we were there for several hours. We saw Gary Young again. Well, I say we, it was me. Because Declan had to go.
I had to go. I was desperate.
We were going... we should talk about where we were going as well briefly.
Oh, well, we will, yeah.
But yeah, we were going on to another destination that should have been maybe a minute's walk, but took me... I had to like circumnavigate most of London to avoid...
Did you go past any of the many boom boxes in the street?
Sure
Absolute impromptu street raves.
I went past some tourists who were looking very, very confusedly at
it's
their,
a bad
at
day
their
to,
phone. Like,
bad
where
day
am
to
I?
visit the National Portrait Gallery.
They just wanted a little like picture of them against the column. Good luck, you'll be sniped. Yeah, so I went all the way round after seeing Gary Young, who did an excellent job as ever. It was a fun game I was playing of trying to guess people who were about to speak based on their introductions that were quite, variable. They weren't like pre-written from post-it notes.
No.
Of like, now we have born in 1984, a journalist with The Guardian for 32 years.
Like, he writes books, he writes words.
He's behind me.
He's the biggest t-shirt wearing hero you've seen.
It's David Lammy. But no, I guessed Gary's one quite quickly because I think there's just an affinity there. And I don't think it's one that he knows about yet, but I think he's going to find
will.
out
when
I
he
send
gets
him
my
this
mail.
pod on a floppy disk. So straight from that political fervour and the energy of
We should mention some of the signs as well.
Yeah,
We're going to talk about signs. Well, you saw a very complicated sounding one about
Which
being
one?
orange.
Oh yeah, there was one that was just something about. It was about a paragraph long, but the phrase that stuck with me was like an apricot-faced, mangled hell beast, which is a lovely turn of phrase and very kind of eldritch way of describing Trump.
One of the best things about the signs was the utterly disparate quality of the craftsmanship. Because,
craftsmanship and message as well.
Yeah, like there were some that were kind of almost professionally done.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a few organizations who turned up with probably more generic banners, but that were made out of kind of carbon fiber mesh on poles.
Just
and
for the
whatnot.
aerodynamic
And then
crowd dodging.
There was a woman in front of me with a half open shoebox that she'd sharpied Trump less than Obama onto and was like waving it about. And you're like, well,
Wow.
well,
Strong
good.
message.
I'm
There were
sure.
a group of girls who were probably about 15, 16, like in front of us, who just had like A4 bits of paper that they'd written on. Just good effort.
There was a sign behind us, maybe, because we were right at the foot of the column and the speeches were happening facing away from Whitehall. So we were looking kind of like down Whitehall, as it were. So in between us and the National Gallery, there was a sign that looked quite well made. But I think that this person had been at the last minute told to self-censor their sign because it
always
was kind of like very well stenciled on Trump is a cunt, but then kind of tacked over the U was just a little bit of paper with an asterisk hastily drawn on. So I'm been like, there might be people who don't want that at the parade.
I saw the gingers against Trump.
I didn't know that was a thing until I saw your Instagram story.
That's interesting because I would have thought you'd have been right amongst that group.
No, I didn't know they were
Perhaps
there.
a deputy or a viceroy.
I'll be applying at once.
I think we should.
I'm sure. I don't know if they actually are a formal movement.
Make it happen.
But
be the
why not?
change you want to see in the world.
I have wanted to see more ginger-based activism.
Yeah, why not?
There was, of course, as we both enjoyed, someone there with a sign that said Wenger out, referring to Arsene Wenger, the ex-Arsenal manager. Wenger out has become like a mantra.
Yeah, it's just
of
its
the
own
fans
meme.
for maybe since he joined, really. That there's always been at least a contingent of people protesting every match saying they want someone new.
Yeah.
And so I think this person just kind of had the sign hanging
They just
around.
had it ready. They were like,
and he may already be gone, but just want to make it clear.
Keep out is really the message. It evolves with the times.
And the only other sign of note that I saw was when I left and I was heading towards Leicester Square. Bit of a hint there. Which was someone who had a School of Rock inspired sign that just said, "You're tacky and I hate you."
Oh, that's so good. That's great. Now, was that the Andrew Lloyd Webber revival of School of Rock you think they're referencing?
Now, I don't want to have to throw this glass of ice water over the keyboard, but I will if necessary.
Not a fan of that big one, hey? No, it was good. And what was good as well was that it was 1,000,000 degrees. One of my favourite temperatures to be standing outside for four and a half hours.
But you were in comfortable kind of every day.
Yeah, oh no, I was in like a suit shirt and black trousers because I'd been at work. Yeah, well, that was a bit of a shame, but I soldiered on, and I think in many ways I was the hero of the day. Maybe the unsung
I have
hero.
been surprised not to see your name mentioned more
weird.
frequently in the press coverage.
And
But
I'm not going to push it. Maybe if you want to
no,
kind of take
I
that,
might I would like tweet Laura Koonsberg or
just
something.
be like,
and be
hey, have a look this way. Why not?
But part of, I think, that strength and resilience that you showed was, as we've hinted, that you had something to look forward to. You had something to which you were persevering.
A weird contrast of events.
Yes.
Weird things to do back to back. You've got all the fervour and energy and just sheer volume in terms both of quantity of people everywhere and just how noisy everyone is. You've got all that going on, and then just 5 minutes down the road, the silent, dark adulation of The Incredibles 2.
Now, when you say silent, I assume you mean hopefully from the audience, not that it's a silent,
It's a silent
movie.
film, and I think Brad Bird deserves all the accolades he's going to get. I mean, if the artist's not afraid to do it, they didn't even have a dog in this film. Although a baby is a bit like a dog, comedically
There was
speaking.
a raccoon.
A raccoon is what I've often considered adjacent to the dog.
Yeah, a kind of trash dog. How did you find it?
It was very, very excellent, I thought. Short film before, it was very, very mad and excellent as well.
Oh, yeah, very
Did
odd.
not expect much of what happened, but was very thoroughly...
I'd seen about
fan.
it before, like months ago. I think they'd released like a clip, or there was an article about.
Yeah, I'd read that
what
it
they
was
were
the
doing.
first Asian director, I think, of a Pixar short, and also the first female director, and it was going to be like based on Asian cultural norms.
See, I knew the main thrust that it is, listeners, about an Asian mother who's suffering from empty nest syndrome. The kids have gone.
Yep.
And so...
And our nests also just gone all empty.
Yeah. And so what happens in order to placate this is that a dumpling that she's making, what it does, she goes to eat it, but it turns out it is alive.
It only comes all the way to life. Not part of the way to life, not Pinocchio style.
Fully.
Has its own passport within minutes, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Normalised, naturalised citizen.
And then she has to raise it.
Yeah, has to is an interesting... Did you feel there was an imperative there?
I didn't think you could then eat it.
You could just kick it to the curb or put it into the foster care system, I suppose.
But then what if it reported you?
What for? She's not necessarily ready to raise a dumpling. Would you be? Is that a conversation you've had with your girlfriend?
No, but that's why I
You
don't
need
make dumplings.
That's fair, yeah. Is that the only reason?
That's
That's what's holding you back?
Yeah.
I'm here
if
to say,
it comes to life,
good chance
I'm
it
just
won't.
fucked.
Imagine if you were like so amazing at making those particular dumplings that you're too afraid to make. You're just holding that gift away from the world out of
For fear.
childish fear of anthropomorphic live food. Yeah, the short was good and the film was very, very good. What about all the music there is?
Well, it's amazing, but as I said to Dan, she came to see it with us, that I think the best thing about the music was that when I got back, I couldn't remember a single bit of new music.
Because it all just blends.
Yeah, it's just so like well intertwined, well integrated into the world that it just is.
I did actually remember the Frozone theme, which has stuck with me. They've written 3 different
Oh yeah, well those stand out somewhat
more. Do have a listen if you haven't, and do go and see it if you haven't, because I mean, what's that about? It's been out for like a month and a half everywhere else.
Yeah.
We got fucked over, but we were there opening night. What did you think? What was the cinema vibe? I hear there was some dreadful person next to you.
Oh yeah, there was a girl a couple of seats down from Dan who wouldn't shut the fuck up.
What sort? Just like screeching or
A bit of
commentating?
screeching and some commentating.
That's very annoying, isn't it? Very upsetting.
Less so during the movie, though there was still some, but more during the short. Some quite offensive commentary.
She wasn't white, was she?
No, she wasn't.
Interesting. Okay. I thought it might be the case that she just missed all the cultural cues from it. And was
No,
blindsided
I think
thereby.
she just was very stupid.
Oh,
that was
okay,
it.
that one.
Yeah.
That's quite the affliction.
The cinema experience was interesting. I both love and despise those seats. They're like these Italian made, are they? I think it says kind of leather seats, which are quite nice, and they have a nice like rock back.
Yeah,
But
some
what
give.
it means is that if you need to like shuffle back in your seat, it is a 4-minute process for me. Like I have to get up and then come back in. And we were inordinately close to the screen, which was also a super screen. So it was fucking huge.
Yeah, having been to almost every row in that screen, the same is true of pretty much everywhere you sit.
Yeah, it
You
didn't
feel
look like
very,
that.
very close to it. But I think that's what IMAX.
By the time the film started, I kind of acclimatized a bit more.
Yeah, you have to get used to it.
The main thing was that in any of the adverts or trailers, if there was any writing on the screen, it wasn't a case of just flick your eyes across. It was like a literal sweeping, like a lighthouse.
Like just the grease lightning.
Yes, across, and it would like be off the screen before you had time.
Forward what?
Some very, very poor trailers. Goodness me.
You're going to go and be seeing the Patrick the Pug film?
I cannot.
Hashtag Pug, actually.
It was the worst trailer I've ever seen.
Yeah, James Corden voicing the Pug, I imagine.
Oh, probably.
That would tip it over the edge into a family classic.
He didn't turn up in The Incredibles, and that was something for which I was
very
inordinately grateful.
Mamma Mia 2. Now, where will you be on opening day for that?
Just won't be
for
watching
MM2.
I just
You're a big fan of the first, and this is your objection is out of like a purist attachment to the classic.
Not necessarily. I mean, I went to see the original. I thought it was fine.
In the cinema?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Why did you do that then?
Because I always quite enjoyed ABBA. And I thought it was just a laugh.
I like the first film.
And it's fine.
Yeah.
But it very much doesn't need any more.
That's
and also,
it needs so much
more. As my like protestation will always be, what fucking songs are they going to do? Because
Did feel like they'd used them.
All of the good ones are gone.
Can you, do you think there's a point during the film where they just give up and well, I guess we'll just do Waterloo again? Because that would have been the most depressing day to come to work as a scriptwriter for that film and be like, guys, there are no more songs.
Guys, I've looked. That anyone's ever heard of.
No. They've
just
got quite
all of the B-sides.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of songs no one's
The winner
ever
takes
heard.
a bunch.
Money, money, honey.
Yeah, it'd be a lot of nonsense, I think. Look, there's one more event today, and it's about this that I'd like to discuss with you.
Okay.
Some augmentations. We're going to segue in via this email from Noah. Noah's a listener to the show. You familiar?
I am. Supercomp Noah.
A mistake in the latest episode, Crobster, is the subject line. Now, look, we're not above being called out for...
The mistake isn't that we called the episode Crobster, is it? Because
interesting that you dropped the ball on pointing that out.
That is a fundamental... Every time I have since seen it, I have thought...
It's horrid words.
That was an amazing decision that we took
If we put all of our episode titles in, like, a list, like, each one of them their own slip of paper and just left them about in a room... The police would be called within seconds. They wouldn't know why. You just get... If you read them, you get a real sense of, there's something not right.
My child is a 3. What could you possibly make of that?
Yeah, there's a lot of worries there. Yeah. The NFL begins now. He hasn't said hello. He hasn't said how you doing.
Dear.
The NFL is the greatest of the 4 big sports here in America. Brackets football, basketball, baseball, and hockey. On top of that, it is far superior than soccer. Perhaps I'm biased, Noah candidly admits, candidly and correctly, because I routinely attend games at the largest stadium in the free world. That's quite cool. But the amount of complexity within the game is beyond any nonsensical goulash you can ping into soccer. Which is a lovely turn of phrase. Albeit the rate of injury and death is a little high, but nonetheless American football is the most exciting and nuanced major sporting game. Declan, how do you respond?
Well, it's just wrong, isn't it? I love Supercomp Noah, but, I refuse to believe, having spent quite a bit of time trying to, refuse to believe that really beyond maybe 3 players per team, that anyone makes any kind of decisions as to what they're doing.
It does feel like a game that could be solved by IBM's Watson.
Well, yeah.
Who just looks
within 1 second.
Put that man there, throw it to the same guy.
All of this headset talking to each other and complex plans and whatnot. It will never ever have anything of the rough-edged beauty of what he incorrectly calls soccer. We're going to call it football. The OG.
Yeah.
The one where you use your feet
primarily
with the ball.
Yeah.
Where, you are solely responsible for all the things that you do. That you've got fucking men, dowdy, middle-aged men in raincoats with a tiny little notepad screaming instructions at a bunch of millionaires.
Go deep, lads! Go
trying
deep!
to get them to kick the ball toward the goal. It's such a
just
fundamentally
such a
simple aim with so much beauty.
In football, teamwork is a choice, and in so many other sports you just have to function as a unit because there's nothing else you can do. And if I wanted to watch that, I'd go and watch battle recreations, and I don't, so I won't.
Watching like American football seems to me like watching netball, where you're not allowed to run with the ball. Like, it just feels like everything's so kind of static and in literal phases that how can you enjoy a game that must be stopped that often?
I feel like the more layers you get away from a sport at its most simple, it's like, I can't remember if I said it on the show, but I said it, we've discussed it every game of the World Cup. If you just put a spherical object in front of 4 people, football would happen. They would work that game out. No fucking amount of people would contrive the complexities and pointless nuances of even, I think, something like rugby, which has a bunch of bullshit rules that needn't happen and that serve only to prolong and account for a game that can't stand up in its own core game loop. It's just bad design. But football is not without, as Noah says, it's nonsensical goulash, and it's on the back of that I'd like to propose to you some thoughts I've been kicking around and kind of gestating during the World Cup period as to ways in which we could spice up the tournament, and not just the tournament, but the sport as a whole. I've got 8 ideas here. They're not all very long, they're not all very complex. Okay. Some of them, however, are game changers.
In a literal sense?
In the most literal sense. I just want to get your
Do any of them involve new bullshit rules and complexities?
Not really.
Okay, that is
well,
good.
One of them very much does, and another one kind of does.
Okay.
The first one is perhaps the most disarmingly simple, and it's for that reason that I think you're really going to enjoy it. And it's, what if all the players were very good?
Oh.
And I mean very good.
So if we got rid of the bad players
and even the good players
and replaced them all with very good players,
just very good exclusively,
it kind of in a sense, like when you get to something like the Premier League or the World Cup, where the whole thing, like, it is extraordinarily removed from grassroots football.
Yeah.
It is business run and business led, not quite to the same extent, I don't feel, as the NFL seems to be, but close.
Yeah,
like it's definitely on its way, and it's aiming to be. Mm-hmm. I do kind of agree with the old Frankie Boyle observation that I'd love to see sport where they were just all jacked up to the eyeballs on drugs. Like, I'd love
cybernetic.
Like, I would love to see, you know, like, I think the Frankie Boyle line is like, do you want to see Usain Bolt run the 100 meters in 9.8 seconds?
Yeah.
Or do you want to see him run it in 3 seconds with the heart of a leopard? Like, you know, and at that point, it's not like, oh, you know, but the rich players will be able to afford that and the poor ones won't. It's like, they are all millionaires.
Do you feel, though, if we lean into that avenue where it becomes a kind of arms race of technology and drugs, do you think the end game for that is dystopia? There's just like going to be some Running Man style.
Almost certainly.
Techno soundtrack.
But I mean, that's what the NFL basically is like. It's all the technology of the gloves that they use to catch and whatnot. At least in football, for the most part, when there's been kind of unfair technology, we have sort of gone, let's rein that in. Yeah. Like, as we were discussing the other day, the season where the ball was a literal sentient object that would deliberately fly. You know, we had that ball and everyone went, you can't have that for
It was amazing to play with, like, as a very casual football player myself. Even that is to overstate the last 10 years of my career. I used to play a lot, but the last 10 years has been a real... It's a dry patch.
Mark and I were saying we want to try and find a 5-a-side team.
Yeah,
Let's try and do that. Well, it's
but
nice.
You'd have a kick around with that season's ball, and suddenly everyone was fucking Pele.
If you looked at the ball, it would move.
Top corner every time. You couldn't miss.
It was like there was a whole season where I think 8 goalkeepers just killed themselves. Like, it was just
It was all the reserves that was coming on.
Did you see, by the way, on this topic, I'll have to see if I can find the video of Everton played a pre-season friendly against some absolute back end of nowhere fifth team.
Okay.
And won 22-0.
Wow.
But there was a video of the 20th goal. And basically the guy gets a pass through, the striker gets a pass sent through to him, and he kind of just walks into the box. And the goalkeeper just looks at him and goes, well, and just walks to his post. Like, just moves at his eye. There's no point. I'm not going to not going to throw myself at his feet to stop
sad.
20-0, am I? So he just like toe pokes it across the line.
That's really sad.
It's so funny.
There's another wrinkle to this that I'd like to explore, which is when I say very good. Have you ever played the game Infamous?
No.
Have you ever played a game ever? Yeah?
Yeah. Sorry, it
so
sounded like there was something more coming.
No, ever.
Okay.
One game at least.
Yes.
So you may be familiar with this system in lots of games of morality, where like if you make good choices,
I've played Football
and
Manager.
you save. Okay, well this doesn't directly apply, but you save if you're Spider-Man and you're zipping about New York like he does, and you save a little kid's balloon. That's some good karma. It means you can unlock maybe a very super web.
Right.
If you take that balloon and stamp it in front of the child, and then maybe web up its face and scream at it.
Yeah, you
that's
get an
gonna
even
unlock
better web.
Dark web.
Oh no.
For example. And in Infamous, it's kind of the whole motif of the game is that you're either doing good stuff or you're becoming very bad. And if you're very bad, your powers are obviously much cooler and better.
Well, you're always.
But I can't fight the urge within myself to just be wholly good in all these games. So I always have the most boring set of like...
You're the worst.
You don't get lightning, but you can help this old lady cross the street with +5 agility.
There's like me in the next room just like throwing black holes wherever.
Yeah. What if there was kind of that level to it? And by very good, that both means in the game, but off the pitch as well. They have to be very good members of society.
Oh, that would be good.
They have to
Just
kind
like
of community
donate the
leaders,
salaries
donating,
and stuff. Yeah.
probably like spoon feeding the elderly if they want to be spoon fed.
Yeah.
Not if they don't, because that would be
That
patronising.
is still assault.
And respect is the number one killer of the elderly.
Yeah.
Apart from age.
So I think that would be good. It feels unfair for them all to be very good without there being some kind of comeuppance. So I suppose.
Do you think there'd be any kind of way you could integrate these sort of unlockable things, the more good they were? Because if, say, Mbappe donates all of his World Cup tournament salary to charity, and then, I don't know, Kieran Dyer just doesn't
comes
spare
out of
an old
retirement
lady,
and
then there's got to be some way of like balancing these two things where he's rewarded more for a very good bit of play.
maybe it's that we work it the other way, that you get penalised for not, because it's I think difficult to award for being good, but we could be like Kieran, maybe let's say Eric Dyer, because he still plays football. Eric Dyer has to wear weights for the next game. Oh, so he's like
not many
weighted
weights,
down.
and maybe like loads on his left foot and none on his right.
Yeah, but just so that it kind of slows him down a bit, unbalances him. It makes his life harder, and when he gets off that field, having embarrassed himself and his team and probably his nation, he'll be like, "I'm going to help this old lady."
He's going to say, "I'm going to go
street."
home and be very good."
Yeah,
that's nice. I think.
Who would be the number two?
Here's one specific to the mouth, which I think is kind of underlooked in football. The mouth.
Oh, good.
What I'm suggesting is that in order to combat a rise, as far as I can see, in this kind of dirty body check football where we're playing, it's kind of cynical, isn't it? We're playing the man, not the ball.
Yeah.
What if the tongue must be protruding from the lips at all time, and therefore clenched between the upper and lower jaw, meaning that you're not going to commit to a foul knowing that you're going to chop off your own tongue in so doing.
But what I think that will create is just even more cynical fouls where, you come in late from the side, they can't see, quick arm up, they've lost a tongue and the ball.
Then there's going to be compensation in the form of that player's going to get right back up and just deck you from the underjaw.
Right, but
that'll chop off the tongue.
But if that were about to happen, I'd just pull my tongue in.
You can't. You'd be immediately disqualified, not from that game, but from all football for all time. Because this is a worldwide
right,
rule.
You can't even do a couple of keepy uppies in the back garden.
Not a chance.
What system is in place to stop you?
24/7 video camera.
And you're funding this, are you?
Sure. Our Patreon's there.
Do they have to be in like a little holder, like a mouth guard.
No. It's
you
the honor
just got
system.
to do it.
Yeah, we don't want to disrupt the game with too much tech. That's at the core.
What about when the mouth is open, like you're breathing?
Even wider it has to be, I assume. It's going to be one of those things, when there's like some jostling in the box and people like put their hands up and try and step away. Like, it's not me, ref. I'm not doing anything.
Sticking their tongues
They're going to
out.
be like tongue as far out as possible. So if you have to like maybe shout something, you're like, oh, do a goal like, to your strikers. You're going to want to stick the tongue as far out as possible to just show that you're abiding by the rule.
What system is in place to make sure that everyone does always have this?
Oh, there's not one that we know of yet, but that's something that I've invested into the research tree.
I'd need to know more about that before I gave this a red or a green light.
There are 22 players on a football pitch and one referee. I'm saying we switch that. One player, 22 refs.
I feel as though just having the one player potentially, and don't jump down my throat here, I'm just spitballing,
far be it
but
from me.
potentially removes any kind of competitive element from the
Interesting that
game.
you should say that, because they're going to be playing, of course, for their own side. But did I say it's the same one player throughout the match?
So what's the
Substitution
system?
is going to be rampant. You're going to be able to call on. So here's how I see it playing out. You start with your goalkeeper.
Okay.
He's doing a goal kick. He kicks. We immediately swap him out. He kicks. As he kicks the ball, he's off to be replaced by a midfielder.
But what about the opposition? Who is
What
the
about
opposition?
the opposition? Exactly. As soon as the ball crosses that halfway line, 11 of the referees are going to push that player off the pitch and drag on a member of the opposition who then get to go. And it really becomes a game of who can swap on and off.
Who can score from the halfway line is what the game becomes.
Interesting that you should say that, because we're going to have a moving halfway line to counteract just that problem, where half of the refs are in charge of this constant flow of stuff. Half of them are redrawing the line.
Does the redrawing follow a kind of pattern?
Yes, but not one we're privy to.
Right. Are they privy to it?
The refs are.
The players.
The players are not. No,
Then-
very much not.
But
It's
how do
anyone's
we
guess.
how do we know that the line redrawing is fairly done?
FIFA. They're famously...
Oh, the famously uncorrupt,
Yeah.
unbiased, fair play, not at all Sepp Blatter enabling FIFA football.
That was the exception, not the rule,
oh right, okay.
is what I've been told
He
to
was
say.
a big exception.
You're on board with that one then?
Not yet.
Not yet, okay.
Again, I need to see more of the paperwork on that one.
2 words for you. Boggart balls.
Boggart balls.
Yes. Give me your gut
Boggart,
check.
as in from Harry Potter and
From
Prisoner
the
of
Harry Potter
Azkaban.
universe.
So the ball transforms into what you fear the most.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this is not a literal magical transformation, because we're not being ridiculous. This is
No. This is a deadly
this is
serious.
Scarecrow-esque, where every player has to submit to, as well as the usual drug checking, they have to be mandatorily gassed before the game with the Scarecrow juice, straight up the sinus. They'll be chock full of it. They'll be flying high on that vapour, I assume. But also it does have a side effect that it means that the surface the ball is coated in does respond and kind of latch into your total source of fear.
Okay. So what I'd like to explore here then is the fairness of this in terms of people's fears.
Yeah.
Because if I'm afraid of the HIV virus,
Okay.
the ball is invisible.
No, I think that your subconscious would
If
have
I'm
some way of
afraid,
manifesting.
if I'm afraid of heights, what is the ball?
Oh, tell you what, it's very off the ground. And maybe the ball would be like a portal into just a great big pit. It would be like the view off the Burj Khalifa.
So what you need to do then is find 20... Well, you need to find a squad of maybe 19, 20 odd players
This is me being a manager at this point.
who are terrified of footballs and train them to become footballers.
How are you going to do that?
Yeah, well, all I'm saying is that they have a distinct advantage and that it's not going to turn into anything else.
No, I think that adds a whole other layer of problem, because then not only do you have to stop them being afraid of football, every time they play it triggers the same fear that is the game itself. Whereas at least if you're only afraid of, say, ghosts and the ball is a ghost, at least you still know I'm really good at football. If I can get over this ghost ball.
No, but the problem there is that if not, then they're not used to that fear. when my boys are in training,
I see.
they're scared, but they're used to playing with that fear.
Are they though?
So when they get onto the pitch, they're like, they're not. I'm not saying that they're unaffected, but they're like, okay, this is just like training, lads.
Yeah.
Whereas yours, like, they're banging them in from 20 yards in training. They get out on there. The ball's a great big spider. They won't know what to fucking do.
Yeah, I can see what you mean, but it sounds like we're going to have to get a lot of youth infrastructure in place so that they're training from as early an age as possible, these football phobes.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
To just play through that fear.
Yeah.
I guess that would be a very good long-term
It makes it more grassroots again.
Do you think there'd be some scope to maybe balance it so you've got like a core midfield of the football phobes, but then your strikers who, they just need that moment of inspiration. Maybe that's where you get the people who are more technically gifted.
Right.
You get the Mbappes of the field out.
Okay.
So that it's like he's not going to be consistent because he hasn't gone through that rigorous training. But in the same way that their guys' skill ceiling is going to be kind of low because they're scared of the game. He's not scared of the game and is very good at it. But if he can just get over
he just has to get over the fact that he's
Wolves or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that he's like
grandma.
He's chasing his ex.
Yeah, and just kicking it into the So I'm suggesting maybe there's a balance to be struck.
Are the goalkeepers subject to the same thing?
They sure are, and that's going to be
because that feels a bit unfair because the others don't have to catch what they're afraid of.
But they do have to like chest what they're afraid of.
They don't have to. I mean, you could play an on the ground game.
A goalkeeper doesn't have to catch it if he's very, very good at flying around with his shoe.
Oh, right. With just the shoe.
Yeah.
Kicks his shoes to stop the goal.
But you're going to see
Maybe they get a lighter dose?
Heavier, if anything.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and also because you're in the goal, I
suppose they get gloves.
Probably some sort of like sound system built into the posts that's like binaural spookiness, which is actually the trademark name of the technology.
Okay, right, yeah.
Here's one for you.
What number's this?
I can't remember.
Good.
There are only a couple left. This one is another game-inspired element, as in video games. I want to see rhythm games crossing over into the football space. So something like Dance Dance Revolution or
Tap Tap Revenge.
Yeah, Crypt of the Necromancer. Some sort of bonus, like there's going to be a track playing throughout that. I need bonuses awarded if you make plays on beat and penalties that range from minor to excruciatingly severe if you drop the beat. So imagine a penalty shootout, for example. That's really at its purest where this system would work. So you've got your run up and kick. Now that's going to be really big. But then once the kick's out, it's incumbent on the goalkeeper to punch it away.
Yeah.
Also on the beat.
But that I feel is where again it's unfair on the goalkeepers because being a goalkeeper for a penalty shootout is already a kind of both a thankless and a thanking job, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But there's nothing you can do. You hope that you guess right. So now you could make the world's most incredible dive, latch onto this penalty, and then it actually is worth 2 goals.
No, I'm not saying it will count as a goal. But what I'm saying is there'll be some sort of inbuilt
like what?
Hindrance. Maybe the goal gets a little bit bigger afterwards.
We're not back to the weights again.
Or maybe, how about this? Oh, this is great because it's part of the rhythm game. Maybe now the goal is moving to the rhythm. It's like swaying.
So you've got to
like left to right,
side to side,
you've got
two
to constantly be sashaying on your goal line. That would be that would make the beautiful game even more beautiful to watch.
Yeah. What about during like open play then?
That's where it's going to be complicated, isn't it? But I think the potential for extreme bursts of skill is sky high. It's going to be like FIFA Street level of play.
Bullshit.
Team. It's going to encourage a certain style of play that's very like decisive.
I think I'm on board as long as there's like a in Mario Kart that we've been playing a lot of. When you do an online race, you get a choice of 3 tracks plus random, and you have your vote, and everyone else has a vote, and then those are like the 8 options, and then a kind of Wheel of Fortune-esque timer runs through a clicker, goes through them, and then settles on one. That's how the tracks are chosen. So all 11 of you could vote for I don't know, Call Me
Usher.
Maybe. And,
Let's go with Yeah by Usher.
But then the opposition have all gone for Call Me Maybe. And maybe you're like, these are different beats.
Are you suggesting that they've trained to Yeah by Usher?
Yeah.
Or maybe just to that kind of 4 on the
Yeah,
floor,
and they
like,
think that
that's their play style. You're like, Brazil, they're known for their very rhythmic 4/4 plays. Whereas like Costa Rica come out and they're playing in like 5/4. And that's going to baffle them.
Yeah.
That's an interesting new level to add to it then, isn't it?
Yeah, because
and
then
maybe,
the
like,
game
a coin
starts.
Toss,
Yeah.
that could have some weighting in like who gets the final vote for the song. Are we saying it's going to be the same song for the whole game or maybe like per half?
I think it's an artist, maybe not a song.
Oh, that's interesting.
We get onto their Spotify. We hit shuffle. So you're like, yeah, okay,
this is good. We know Queen.
Yeah, but then it comes up and it's We Are the Champions, and it's so much slower than you're expecting.
Kick, time after time. Save. That's going to be amazing. And then by the time, like, if it goes into extra time,
having a good just start charging down there.
And that's in like the second half of extra time.
Bohemian Rhapsody comes on and no one's got a clue.
But imagine how good it would be when you like start getting into the deep cuts of these bands, like back catalogue tracks that no one's heard of, and they're just like there'll be an unsurety of like, well, I don't really know. I don't know the song. Like, is it going to speed up? Something like Good Vibrations, that style of like different tempoed sections.
Yeah.
And when you don't know the track, that's going to it's going to reward players who are rhythmic and who are prepared to adapt, I guess, musically.
Yeah.
To the challenges of the track. I think that's a good one.
Yeah, I'm on
Best
board.
one so far?
Yeah, definitely.
Up there
Better than
with,
that tongue bullshit.
Up there with the tongue. Good, glad to hear it. We've talked about this one before. I want to see if we can nail out a specific mechanic for it, and that is introducing something like the snitch to football.
Oh, right. So something that's worth more points than
a game ending,
anything else.
but not necessarily game winning condition. Just a
usually.
lot of points. Yeah. Like maybe if the opposition had caught it against that Everton game you mentioned, they wouldn't have won, but their humiliation would have been over.
Yeah, I think maybe if you say it's worth 5 goals, maybe, or 6 goals, that's it's an inordinate number, but it's not a de facto win.
What if it's worth no goals, but it's worth like in is it in snooker or pool where if someone fouls, you get to put the cue ball in a specific area in order to take a shot? What if it was that? So you could like choose anywhere within like their half to take set pieces from.
Right.
And you get like 10 of those.
You get 10 of them.
Yeah.
And after those, the game is over.
Yeah. After whatever happens, that's the end of the game.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is it just takes the heat off in terms of like, it's not just a definitive, there's still some element of gamesmanship there where you're going to have to come through and you'd have to know that if I catch this ball snitch, whatever that turns out to be, and maybe it's just some people like playing massive tennis on either side of the court, something like that with a bouncy ball.
I'm thinking more that it should be something to do with goals.
Okay.
Because that is, the snitch is still just points. Like, it's not that it introduces a new area of the game. It's that it's worth a lot of points.
Yeah.
So, you've got certain people in the team dedicated to doing this. And also, it's like a potential last minute ploy for victory. That maybe it's something like if you can score a goal without the ball touching the floor from when your team takes possession.
That counts as unlocking the snitch.
It's like, it has to start in your half. If you want, from when you win possession, you score a goal without it touching the floor.
Yeah.
Then that ends the game. So you could technically from kickoff pass it back into your own half, have someone hoof it downfield, someone's up the other end, they jump, they head it in, 5-0, game's over, you've lost. So there's that imminent danger. But at the same time, if you try and put that tactic into use kind of in the mid-game, it's very easy to be dispossessed straight up the other end, and Mbappe just fucks off, sticks it in. Then it's like, okay, now we've got to score the super in the air, don't let the ball touch the floor goal.
One of the aspects of the snitch that I like particularly is the idea, and it's a very poor one in terms of sport generally, but JK made it work, that you have to devote a whole member of your quite small team solely to doing this. Like, Harry never gets involved with the quaffle or the bludgers, as far as I know. Like, he's never really doing anything. And I always thought, like, there was more he could be doing.
I think I've solved it.
So, go on, how are we going to get a dedicated
This is
team
what we
member?
do. It's still the goal idea,
Yeah.
but it's forget all this, doesn't have to touch the floor. It's still about scoring a goal. But each team, they've got their 11 players and one child.
Oh, that's good.
And
And can they be dressed as a kind of golden snitch, sort of? Like,
Yeah,
they have
if
to
you
wear
want.
maybe they have to have like a kind of semi-zorb thing going on.
Possibly.
So
That
if
makes
they
it
get
even
knocked,
hard.
but if they get knocked, they're not going to get injured because they're being attacked by men.
Yeah. But if your child scores a goal,
And you have to call them, they have to get their name legally changed to Mr. or Mrs. Snitch, the baby child. Yeah.
Mr. and Mrs. Snitch, the baby child, and that's how they call it. They go, in for Mr. and Mrs. Snitch, the baby child's ball! Cross comes in, they just stick their tiny little head out of the zorb on the ball and
Like
in.
a turtle.
It's five goals to you, game's
that
over.
would be so good. And so, what about, this is all ideas spark my imagination, because maybe if they were suitably protected in the Zorb, you could actually play Mr. or Mrs. Snitch, the baby child, as an adult. So you see like this amazing cross coming in, Mr. and Mrs. Snitch, Mr. or Mrs. the baby child's on the halfway line. You boot them up gently, but with a kind of practiced, follow through. That's not going to be. It's not going to be painful because they're protected by this very, very expensive Zorb equipment. They're going to intercept with the trajectory of the ball, and they don't even have to really do anything. But maybe
That's what I'm thinking.
they just get their arms
like
up.
another technique then is that you just have them constantly running in at the back post.
Yeah,
right,
just
and
in
you have a
case.
couple of people dedicated to sort of protecting them a little bit. You whip balls across the box. If someone doesn't get their foot on it before them and get
It's
a goal
just a
in,
de facto
in off them
for Mr. or Mrs.
5-0.
Baby. That's so good. That's really
Great
good.
idea. Well, I'm writing.
That one's good.
I'm writing to the EPL tomorrow.
Good. And make sure to use
Mr. or Miss,
in
Mr. or
bold.
Mrs.
Yeah.
Baby Snitch.
We were playing a bit of Overcooked last night on the Nintendo Switch, and by last night I mean until 6 a.m.
I'm so excited to keep it going.
It's a very, very good game on what I'm proud to consider now the greatest console God ever made. And for those that don't know, it's a cooking multiplayer game, which sounds dull, but here's the thing, it's mental. There
It's
are
such
earthquakes,
madness.
there's all sorts. And one of the things that fucked
in the
us over
dark.
particularly was the ice level. And that got me thinking, could we add, you've heard of grass, why not try
New terrains.
glass with studs? That'd be interesting. I'm thinking ice, I'm thinking quicksand, mud.
Like how in tennis, sometimes they play on clay.
Yeah,
Sometimes
exactly.
they play on
That's
grass.
really lacking from football.
It does lead to some unfortunate things, like at Wimbledon the other day, when Federer got knocked out, and they said
Of the contest or of his own consciousness?
of the contest, and I think it's Kyle Anderson it was who knocked it out, and Kyle Anderson has beaten the king of grass. Well, let's
Cool
not
name.
call him that.
Yeah.
I like the idea. I think that maybe not quite as like tennis. I don't think we need to go quite as mad as to go. It's on ice.
I just think there'll be something to it having like, I don't think there needs to be much ice, but I think maybe like 8 square feet just sort of towards the halfway line.
I'm just thinking, like today at the final ceremony for the World Cup, where there'd been an enormous storm and the
very
pitch
wet.
is hugely waterlogged.
You're suggesting very wet grass.
Yeah, I think it adds.
very
There's footage of a game from, I think it's South Africa, where that's happened. The pitch is preposterously waterlogged, and a guy trying to take a free kick from 20 yards runs up and wellies it with all of his might, and it goes maybe 10 yards. Like doesn't reach
so
the wall
disappointing.
because it's just so
But he
waterlogged.
kicks a fucking tidal wave.
And then it's, people just kick, there's water everywhere,
That'd be cool,
there's
wouldn't it?
spray.
That'd be like the end of Step Up to the Streets, the second Step Up film where they dance. They have that dance off in the rain.
I couldn't
and I guess that would be
confirm
what
or deny,
what
but
you're
I will
thinking.
trust you.
Here's my last one, and it's another kind of in the same vein as the very good players. There's an element of subjectivity here that I think we need to lean into and just accept
Potentially.
that with this whole debate about can VAR, which is computer aided vision that helps the referee, can it ruin the game? Is there a balance to be struck, and where is that balance?
Yeah.
I'm suggesting we return some authority to the referee and give them a kind of wild card rule where at any point, in my head at the moment, it's maybe once per half, they get to just reach into their pocket for a new card that's, I don't know that it needs to be any colour. I think it could be see-through even, but they have to bellow. You can't kick it like that, and that just nullifies that bit of play, whatever they're referring to.
So you just think there's one point where they can just go, whatever that
they have
was.
to go, you can't kick it like that, and then people just have to be like, I didn't know I couldn't kick it like that.
No, I knew he was going to do it then.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I thought you were going to say, which I think also could be interesting, is that I think once a minute, for a minute, every 10 minutes, they get Magic Man status.
Okay.
So you ever play with the Magic Man when you play in the park, where you've got an odd number of people?
Okay.
So one player is playing for both teams. Whoever's got the ball, they're playing for.
I've never heard that referred to as Magic Man.
Yeah.
That's a good name for it.
Yeah, so it's like we hit the 10-minute mark. Man U are on the ball. He's
Suddenly
a Man
there are
U
12
player.
men.
They can pass him. He can distribute. He can't score.
No, that's
he
fair.
can only distribute.
You don't want to be crazy.
And obviously, therefore, he can't ever tackle either, because whoever's in possession, he's playing for. So he's only a distribution man, but he's there. Because sometimes, like the ref, they're always in a good position.
They've got great position.
They've got to be in a good position. So you give it into them, they knock it through the through ball, Mbappe's onto it, and it's in.
And that's 8 goals.
And
he's got Mrs. Baby Snitch. So
Yeah,
that's 5 and it's done.
And you've got to keep an eye, because obviously sometimes you can't really see the clock as a player.
Yeah.
You've just got to have that kind of internal clock, that wood block, fake block going. Because
by Usher Blair.
because he might be right up the other. He's in a fantastic position. You want to, knock it up to him so he can head it down for the striker.
But it's gonna
But
change.
by the time it gets to him, the minute's up. He's no longer. He just steps out of the way of it, and it
Would
bounces
he
out
have
of
some
play.
kind of digital shirt that changes colours to represent the
No,
side?
that's part of the skill.
Okay, so you have to just keep track of that. So there's it's like an alt management kind of thing from esports.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. I think maybe what if this rule of you can't kick it like that, before the game he has to go to the fourth official with a special notebook and he writes down what the criteria are.
Now that I like.
For you can't kick it like that. So maybe it's like at right angles, you can't kick it like that.
Or 3 consecutive touches with the left foot.
You can't kick it like that. And he has to write that and then seal it in a notebook, in an envelope, that's like watched by probably that really good insurance firm that looked after the La La Land Oscar victory.
Oh yeah, they are good.
Yeah, they can keep watch on anything you need. So that's sealed and that's left with him. And then it becomes a tactical game as a player. You're going to want to, in the first 20 minutes, really experiment to find out what you can't kick it like.
Yeah.
So that when he shouts, you can't kick it like that, you're going to huddle and be like, okay, so what? Let's play that back. So
What do we do? What do we do?
That was on my left. Oh no, but it was like a thigh. It was sort of like closer to the knee though. So maybe it's a joint-based thing. Maybe you
But
can't
hang on a
hit it
minute,
with
no,
joint.
but maybe it was because as I did it, the ball made a kind of B flat note, and maybe that was
It could be.
because
We're gonna
I-
have to test that. Who's got perfect pitch? Okay, you come over.
perfect pitch.
Nice. That'll be good. That would be a very punny choice from.
Yeah,
So if you knew it was a ref,
maybe
who
the ref
favours
the
pun.
ref has to come up with a kind of pun title for it.
So at the end, after the match over, he has to reveal it.
Or maybe beforehand, that's what he says. He's like,
He gives him a riddle.
you can't kick it, and here are the new rules how you can't kick it. Like, and he goes perfect pitch, and he goes, I don't know, 3 sinister people. So that's the perfect pitch. If you kick it and it makes a certain note,
Yeah.
you're like, right, okay, we can't hit that note anymore.
and then left-footed
3 sinister
passes.
people, left-footed passes.
That does add, because I think one of the criticisms of footballers is that they're stupid and
Yeah,
thick,
and it
which I always
brings
thought
in-
was unfair, but it would prioritise a certain tactical play
Yeah.
that I think could be really powerful to see.
Yeah.
I just think those opening few minutes where often there's this slower game of like, let's test the defence, let's see like where they're running, who's their
what you mean.
playmaker, that's when people are really going to have to mix it up and work out like, oh, maybe it's because I blinked as I passed, or maybe it was like when the sun goes behind a cloud, you can't kick it like that. There's all sorts up there.
I like these suggestions.
Good.
Not all.
All of them
But I
across the
think
board.
that you've missed out something that I think sits in the subconscious of all football fans in one form or another.
Okay.
A much simpler suggestion than even your what if all the players are
1,000
very
balls.
good. No.
Oh, okay.
No. Which is, what if we just delete the idea of a draw?
Ooh.
What if all games, like during the Premier League, obviously you can't be making them play extra time every fucking Saturday.
That'd be a bit much.
But straight to pens.
Yeah, or instead of penalties, maybe that's when it goes straight to one of these new rounds, like the tongues have to come out.
Okay.
Come out something terrible and swift as well. You hear that full-time whistle, it's 1-0. Tongue has to be straight out, or much like a kind of musical statues thing, the ref's going to be looking around.
Yeah, for the
VAR assisted to be like, fuck,
oh,
right,
there
get
it
off.
was. We get Hawkeye in.
Yeah, that would be a straight sending off if the tongue's not out.
I mean, all the best games
Don't draw.
Yeah,
Yeah.
are the ones where it's not a draw and where we get some kind of result. We get the penalties. It makes it a much more interesting sport as well for the neutrals.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're watching just, I don't know,
Rando teams.
Super Sunday on Sky Sports and it's, I don't know, Liverpool Burnley.
Yep.
It no one's like, oh, quick, 2-2, please. You
Come on.
you want a result, you know, you want it in there. And if you've got to watch,
You've got to have a narrative.
if you get to watch a penalty shootout, which is frankly the most exciting aspect of football
Of any sport.
of any sport, you're correct, ever, then you know I think that just is going to lure more people in.
And when that penalty shootout is soundtracked by the Blazing Squad doing their "Meet you at the crossroads, kick, kick." Meet me at the crossroads. But then there's the rap verse, and that's going to mix up the tempo. It's going to be big. So there are some of our ideas for sport. If you've got any any augmentations to a sport of your choice, or a game, or anything really, maybe just your own life, you can send them over to us at tass@shame.city. We're on Twitter as well, aren't we? Who could forget?
That's a Shamecast. That is
sure
that's a Shamecast for the show.
Car beeped as if to say, yeah, I follow you.
I'm on board.
Which they definitely aren't.
Yeah.
But never mind.
At DE Delane for myself, at Isaac BD for Isaac.
Place to be.
We've got a Patreon.
We sure do. It's
Patreon.com/Shame City.
Sure is. And we're going to have...
Some have incorrectly said Shamecity.
Have they? That's so
And that
sad
is
to hear.
very disappointing.
That does upset me to the core. You get all kinds of bonus content there. 3 extra little mini episodes a month. There's all kinds of stuff from just $1. 50 cents an episode.
Shame.city/contact as well. The contact form on the website. You can send us all sorts of ideas. Shame.city/review or reviews if you'd like to give us a 5-star for this wonderful month of July. And of course, Warmy Bomb. Word of mouth is the best of mouth.
Really
Tell
is.
everyone.
Maybe-
Shout it from the rooftops.
I'm going to say you don't even have to know these people anymore, because when we've given them such kind of applicable conversation topics as like, oh, what if everyone's tongues are out at football?
Or what if there's a Mr. Snitch boy baby in a Zorb?
You can say that to any cab driver in the land, and that's a friend for life, right there.
And then you don't have to say, has it been busy? What time are you on till?
Oh, is the weather there? And they're like, yeah. The weather's still
the
there.
weather is always-
Just go straight in with Baby Snitch and cut to the core of that friendship. Until next episode 101.
Yes.
It's gonna be big. I'm not afraid to say so, is what I was trying to say. Until then, of course, I've been Isaac. You've been.
I've been Declan.
We'll see you on the other side of that.
Bye, guys.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder. My new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. The bare necessities, the bare necessities, the bare necessities of life will come to you.